In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast.
Welcome back to another Pointless Automotive Podcast. Chadwick and Frank with you again for another exciting installment of this ongoing drama. Is it? Yeah, it's dramatic, I guess. Today's
More of
episode,
a calamity.
it is disaster in slow motion on a weekly basis. This episode, guys, should be a pretty fun one. We're back to the Automotive Grudge matches, and this is an all-Swede edition death match, which is funny because they wouldn't really fight. They're super concerned with safety. So, I don't think
They'd have a
these
pillow
companies-
fight.
Yeah, like an airbag, side airbag,
A
crash
very
test rating
blonde
fight.
pillow fight. Yeah.
Ooh, lots of meatball sauce
Maybe
flying
like a-
around.
Maybe like a metal, like a death metal, like grindcore riff off.
I
don't know.
Swedish metal's pretty. It's a thing, right? I think
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
thing.
Yeah.
Sweet. So yeah, I mean, this is also kind of like GM versus Ford, but we'll get to that.
Yes, it is.
For those in the know, if you know, you know. But thanks for joining us again, guys. Let's kick this off. I personally like both these car manufacturers, Frank. I'm gonna come straight out and
Who
say
are you
it.
talking about?
I like Volvo and Saab so much.
You're gonna add like Spiker into that? Or, like-
Yeah, I was Koenigsegg, right?
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Let's Miller time, baby.
Oh yeah. I'm not doing that. I should have a beverage. I don't know what's in this. It's just sitting on my table here.
Best drink it.
Yeah, it's probably I needed a place to just like do a coolant system bleed or something, and that's probably full of glycol.
Clean your it out.
I like both of these too, and I think
Mm.
probably you've had more experience with both of these manufacturers. I think I've owned a Volvo and I've owned a Saab, but I've spent time around various Volvos and Saabs, and yeah, they're cool. They're unique. They're both very different, but both very Swedish.
Yes.
And so that's a good thing, I think. And so I guess I don't know, like, where do you want to start? Do you want to just start picking off models?
Yeah. So yeah,
Philosophies? Like,
some
what are you thinking?
some fun categories and subcategories. I've only owned a couple of each, I think. So
Yeah.
I'm not too well versed in all that is Swedish automaker, but I do like them both, and they both have kind of always been unique and weird, which is what I gravitate towards in my cars. So let's start it off. Let's start off with something everybody likes: wagons. Who do you think, Frank, out of Volvo or Saab, made the best spicy wagon? And I'm going to make it easier for you. I picked two I think are fairly representative of the brands. So this one, I'm going to go. You ready for this, though? And if you have another entry that I didn't think of, I'd love to hear it. So I picked Saab 93X Turbo Wagon. That's the 2008 only with the all-wheel drive, 280-something horsepower. Cool, super cool wagon, like a serious wagon. And I have to put it up against the venerable V70R. And the V70R, of course, comes in flash green with an Atacama interior.
Yes,
but
I mean, that's
with the Spaceball shifter.
That's such a cool. I think so. It's first off, it's kind of a tough decision.
Sure,
it shouldn't be, but it is, because when you think wagons in general, or cool station wagons in general, one of the first things that pops in your head is Volvo.
Yep.
Just overall, I mean, they have a long, storied history with the station wagon and making fast derivatives of that. I mean, back to like the P1800 ES. I mean, they made a damn shooting brake for the sake of being awesome. Which arguably has one of the greatest rears of any vehicle ever. I'm just gonna say it. Like,
it's nice looking butt.
That's it. To, of course, the 240 series. The original turbo brick. Yep. And then also attached with that the 700 series turbos, and then you had the A50R, and you had obviously the V70, the one that you're talking about, that first generation V70R.
Second gen
V70, but the first gen of the R.
No, they had an R before that was only automatic, came with the boxy body.
Oh, you know what? You're completely right. For some reason, I was thinking because they had the 850R, and for some reason I thought they only did it in a T5,
Nope.
which
Yep.
was
They
like the
did
middle tier.
they did the V70R on a only auto. Had the awesome
Correct.
boxy design. Great vehicle. But yeah, I'm speaking particularly of the 300
The second,
horsepower.
yeah, that
Yep.
second generation Spaceball shifter. However, that Saab is a really cool. It's a really cool
I
wagon.
I really think in the States, the wagons with the 6-speed manual, we only got about 300 of those. So that's something to keep
Okay.
in mind. So that's an ultra rare Saab. So
Yeah, I mean that would be really cool. The only
they both look great too. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's not a bad looker in that group.
I think I'm gonna have to give the nod to Volvo on this one. I like both of those cars. I also like the 9.5 Sport Combis. I think
Yeah,
those are really
super
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Which you could get with a manual.
Mm-hmm.
And in various levels of spiciness. Picture the what is it, like the Buffalo Wild Wings like heat level chart, you
That's
know?
right. Arrow at the
Um,
top, right?
exactly. Unless you like maybe like you've slept with the manager or something like that, and then you can get like the special like vegan version or something.
Ooh.
Um, but yeah, the
Only if you're vegan around.
exactly.
I guess.
Um, sure, why not?
Mm.
The Yeah, but that V70R, especially in that color
Mm.
combo,
Ooh.
it's like so insultingly brash. It's like just cool,
It
especially
just
in that
works.
car because it's not aggressively styled.
Not
Its
particularly,
meter's
no.
not aggressive. Like if you hustle it, it's kind of soft and they're kind of
Yeah.
heavy and but like that. And if you had to own one today, like at least you can get like service parts for it and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that's what I would do. And who knows? Maybe the nod goes to them for the overall body of wagon work.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's definitely their expertise area. I went with the V70R, no surprise. That color combination is brilliant. That 6-speed is so cool. The interiors didn't hold up very well, but God, those seats, man! Like
Mhm.
they probably are one of. I'd put them in the top like 3 seats I've ever sat in a vehicle. Just absolutely wonderful and tons of interior space. Cool wagon. That'll never be uncool. And the values on those things, whew,
Yeah, no,
so
they're good. You can still get into an automatic one for not like a soul sucking amount of money.
sure.
I mean, good luck finding that color combo. But in like a more reasonable color combo, there were a lot of gray ones.
Right.
Even
Yep.
gray, even something like gray over Atacama is kind of cool. I think white over Atacama is really cool.
Atacama
Um,
is the play, but that blue interior is cool too if you have to go for a backup.
that's true.
It's a
Yeah,
pretty
like
straight up
black over
interior.
that blue or silver
Oh
over that
yeah,
blue would be cool.
good
So there's
combo.
ways to do it if you just want to get in it uh, as for the aesthetic and for for driving around, just having a good wagon. If you don't care about the manual aspect of
Sure.
it, you can pick one up for not a ton of money. And those things they can put big miles on those. If I understand, I know at the time Volvo was using a lot of ASIN transmissions, which is effectively Toyota
Hmm.
for their automatic stuff. Um, so it's probably, I mean, the transmissions are probably reliable. Those 5 cylinders are flat out reliable.
They have
Um,
yeah. Their issues are with the drive line, like the all wheel drive system, is where you have your issues with
sure.
those vehicles. I think there's an angle gear issue, a couple other weird specific
Yeah.
to the S60 and V70Rs, but yeah,
Yeah, and I think they also had the was it the Magani Morelli, or I can never pronounce it, but like
oh
Magneto Morelli or whatever.
Magneti
But
Morelli.
Magnetti Morelli, thank you.
That's it.
Jesus. But they made all the throttle bodies for those, and it's got like I don't know if it's straight drive by wire or if it just has an integrated like throttle position sensor, and they
Mm,
fail, and they're like $1,800 for your
it's
throttle body,
wild.
something
Yeah.
soul sucking. So um there's a few bugaboos, but they're pretty good, and you can they're trusted to put big miles on them, and that's a good thing. Now that the value's up, like it's worth putting the money into it if something
Absolutely. Yeah.
like that goes sideways. So
What do you got, man? You got a match within the match?
I've got one
Okay.
that it's a little it's different, and it's not in our usual wheelhouse because these are cars are a little bit on the older side.
Okay.
We're talking like early 70s.
Mm.
But back in the day, in the early 70s, both of these manufacturers made weird, sell, you know, early 70s and obviously into the 60s, at least for Volvo's sake, deep into the early 60s. They had like their kind of like Halo coupe, like sports coupe compact offerings.
Mm.
So you had the P1800, which then turned into the P1800S, which would then became the E, which then became the ES, depending on if it had fuel injection or where in the production line it was. I think it started in 1961 was the original, and then the ES I think went to 74.
That
I'm
sounds
not
about
certain. I'm
right.
not
Yeah.
certain where in the ES ended, which was the shooting brake edition. While Saab had the Sonnet, the Saab Sonnet 1 and 2, which are absolutely bonkers weirdo cars.
So weird.
And I've seen a few, but I don't know if I've ever seen one running. They're like really small, really wedgy, like a big glass bubble hatchback. The version 1 had a 2-stroke 3-cylinder,
That's right.
and then which was then later replaced in the Sonnet 2, the sequel. Got the Ford V4, which
Hey
is
now.
equally as bizarre, if not more.
God.
And yeah, different things. So what's I know this is not exactly in my wheelhouse or your wheelhouse. I tend to kind of probably skew on the older side more than you do. But what are your thoughts on those two flagships from yesteryear?
Yeah, no, and the Sonnet is totally one of those vehicles where when you see images of it, it looks bigger than when you see it in person. And when you see it
Yes.
in person, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this thing's unbelievably small. And I'm also with you too. I feel like every Sonnet, even when you see a super clean one, it's been parked for 10 years at
Yeah,
least.
exactly.
So
Oh,
usually
I just
20.
need to get around to it. It's like, well,
Just needs a fuel pump.
yeah, something for your
I get
fuel inject. Yeah, for your 3-cylinder,
this
2-stroke.
is
Like parts are
this
probably
is
madness.
this is tough. Is the 1800 ES the shooting brake on the table for this comparison? Is
Yeah,
that
I would say
I
that.
gotta give it to that because like I like the Sonnet, but like you said, there's probably a reason they're not running half the time. And I feel like the P1800 is definitely worth restoring. If I could get my hands on like a clean chassis, and I've looked at
Yeah.
them, people ask a lot of money for like a rust-free, clean. And the ES was super rare, I think, actually compared to the other ones. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think what was funny was because that they made those at the end of the run, and
mhm,
for at least a while they ran concurrently with the coupe version
right.
for like a year or two, and like I want to say in like 60, like maybe 70, 71, and then they killed off the coupe, which was the P1800E, and then it just was only the shooting brake version. It's like they gave it a little bit of a breath of life at the end of the run. And so I
Hmm.
don't know production numbers. I know the early ones had really significant rust issues as far as the coupes.
Did that ever go away?
Not really, but like
Yeah.
the early ones, the ones that they, um, I want to say the original ones were built in like England. Like the original one,
Hmm.
when it was just the P1800, it was built in England, and then they were falling apart because
Sure.
it's a British tradition, unlike any others, that you build a vehicle that just self disintegrates within hours.
How rover like, my friend? How rover like?
Exactly. Or
Uh,
yeah, like they just literally a handful of years and they just started rotting out, and they had some serious issues. And so they within the first year or two, then they moved it over to Sweden, and that's why the S is there. So it was the
oh,
P1800S for
love it.
Sweden. And everything got better and on and on and on. Then the E meant fuel injected. So I don't know which ones were made more. I agree. I would do the P1800. I like
Hmm.
the Sonnet. The Sonnet is cool. The Sonnet is far more of a like. I think if you pulled each one up to a Cars and Coffee, the Sonnet would garner way more attention. Um, just be,
Probably
just because I don't I think
just
people
having a
don't even know
running
what
one.
it is.
Yeah,
Or yeah,
true.
there was like what is that? Is that like a a Bradley GT kit car? Is that
It's decidedly not Saab looking, but either is the 1800 really. Volvo's design
that was
language.
Pininfarina, I think, did the design on that.
Yeah, and
the
but
1800.
they took a drastic turn. I love how my C30 is a nod to that thing though, like the glass hatch and everything. I
Yes.
think that's so
Yes.
damn cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with the Volvo on that one for sure.
And the thing is, I think I'm quick hot take before we get on to the next one. I'm gonna say I like the coupe better, which I think most people like.
Ooh,
It's kind of breaks enthusiast rules, right? Because it's like, oh, there's
it
a shooting
does.
brake available. You have to like the shooting brake better, and I think that's a good rule generally. But
Yeah.
I think that coupe, like the mid run coupes, like like a 65, 66 P1800S is one of the prettiest cars ever built.
They are sharp. They're well designed. I don't know. That glass hatch, man, is so
It is cool. Like
so dynamic. Like that rear 3/4 shot is just like nothing looks like that.
You know what I think would be like a very successful like YouTube channel for somebody? Like maybe, I don't know, like we find somebody like that needs that's like an outdoorsman hunter guy that like needs a new bit. Like I think Bear Grylls, I think I just saw he's got some new thing, and he's not exactly a hunter, but
No.
I don't know, the Liver King, he's disgraced, right? Can you get like he's probably not a hunter. He'd probably just shoot himself right in his drug modified in size junk. But
steroid shrunken satchel. It's a good shot if he hits it though. So we gotta give him props where props are due.
No, absolutely. But what I'm saying is, if he's probably not something now that it's come out that he's just like doing like $30,000 in HGH and steroids every month, he probably needs a new gig, right? Because like pretending to like eat various animal organs to get yoked is probably, I think the bloom is off the rose there. So what if there was a channel where it was just like people hunting out of shooting breaks? And so like each week they're like, I'm with this car, and they tell you about the car, and then they're like, now let's go use it as a shooting brake. And then they sit in it and they actually hunt whatever, hopefully not big exotic game, but whatever, whitetail, I don't know. And you get like the hunting and the gun nut crowd, and then you get the idiots like us that are obsessed with shooting brakes, and you get like the review of the shooting brake, and then you get to see it shooting and hopefully not break.
But it's nice to know what keeps you up at night, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Recently it's been fever dreams. Today it's been
shooting out of shooting breaks. I like that.
Yeah,
we can make that work. Okay, I got a good one for you. This one's pretty tough, man. This is the worst I was owned by a U.S. automaker experience. So obviously we know both of these companies owned by big U.S. automakers. This is really Ford versus GM again in this instance. Who do you think had the worst overall U.S. manufacturer ownership experience? Was it Volvo, who, for the audience, you guys probably all know this, but just in case you didn't, Volvo was owned by Ford of all companies.
Correct.
Saab, on the other hand, under the mighty leadership of GM.
Iron fist of GM.
Really was, right? The global GM crushing, soul crushing Saab experience. But anyway,
nuts to butts.
Bro, what do you go with? What do you go with on this one? Who had it worse? Who got shafted by their boss the worst? Yeah.
Yeah, who had the largest grievance to file with their boss? You know what? It's got to be Saab. Ford actually made products with and for Volvo. Right? So because when did Ford take ownership stake? I want to say they took ownership stake in like 89 or something, like something earlier than you would think.
Yeah, but it changed, like it drastically changed. There was different percentages and how much input they had involvement. So
yeah,
at one point, it goes along parallel with the Mazda ownership where Ford had their Mazda.
Right.
So you had like some global platforms, like the Focus RS shared the chassis with the Mazda 3, which shared the chassis with the Volvo C30. It's just this weird, I don't know, just this culmination of weird ownership things. But yes, so yeah, they were there. Same with GM and Volvo and Saab, right? So
yeah, because
I
think they initially just bought 50%. for whatever it was, 5, 6, 700,
It
700
might have been
million
like
dollars.
25% stake, to tell you the truth, when it started. And then
Interesting.
more and more it like snowballed into like, hey, you are GM now,
Yeah, maybe that's what it. For some reason, I want to say that they paid like 5 or 600, uh, not billion, million,
Yeah, it was
like
low.
not that much money for like the first 50%, which might have, I don't know if like that might have been like you add all the purchasing, the different levels of funding equaled like say 600 million, and then the second half they bought like whatever it was just a few years later, say 4 years later, 5 years later, for like 100. So it's
Right.
like they bought half of it, drove the price out of it, and then bought the rest, for pennies on the dollar.
And we're talking
Uh,
about GM and Saab here. And then
that's GM and
a
Saab,
lot
yeah,
a lot of that is because Saab was in the red for a super extended period of time, right?
yeah.
Like they had a good following for a while, and their safety was a big thing, and their ingenuity, I'd say, is a big thing, like pushing front wheel drive, pushing turbo
Hmm.
technology onto the
Yeah.
masses. And thank God for that. That was awesome. They did that. But yeah, GM, they kept the company alive, but not really, right?
Yeah, they kept the brand
Yeah.
alive. You know, and
Well, kind of the
by that
brand
they kept
died. The brand for Saab was like, well, at least the brand
they
image
kept
was
it
like,
undead. Let's put it
yeah,
that
the
way.
the quirky hatches were fading away, and it became badge engineering. And I think we're both on the same point of view here. Is that GM really, that was the nail in the coffin for Saab, right? Like
Yeah.
everything became rebadging operations. We talked about this. You had your 92X, which was the Subaru. You had 9497. We had all kinds of GM products badged as Saab. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, guys. They just lost the magic, man. And then Volvo kind of won with Ford Motor Company, right?
They
They got
did.
some
Yeah, they did.
solid tech.
No, they came out okay. I don't know. Was that and I don't remember if they too called it the modular, but I think they did that 2.4, 2.5, 5-cylinder that ended up developing. I think that was under Ford stewardship of Volvo when that was developed, and
The
I do believe that
T5.
Ford had a hand in it, and that's a good motor, and it went
Real good
into
motor.
everything. And are there some bad, like, okay, oh, there's some electrical glitches and like,
Mm,
these were kind of pretty electronic heavy vehicles for their time,
sure.
and so that's kind of to be expected to a certain extent. But I think Ford did a lot of good for Volvo, and I know that's probably not super vogue to say because it's like having, you know, really any Ford owned or GM owned or Chrysler owned any other brand, and then to say that was good for that brand is probably not on brand for a lot
Right.
of people. But
Yeah.
I think they actually did pretty good for them. They did good for Jaguar as much as people like to crap on Ford era Jaguar stuff.
True.
Um, so yeah, I think that's it. I think GM did. I think Ford did good and
Hmm.
did right by Volvo versus GM kind of did Saab dirty.
Yeah. Kind of ran it out, the brand.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree.
I agree. Yep.
I agree.
Volvo won that one. So if you're going to pick a US automaker, Ford was the one to go with.
Apparently, yeah, it's just yeah. What if yeah, I'm just trying to think
Ooh.
like what Chrysler would have bought that could have like totally
We could
changed
have
how it
we
if
could have
they
got
bought
that Hemi.
Jaguar instead.
We could have got a Hemi powered V70, baby.
Ooh,
Ooh, actually,
let's go,
that sounds amazing. Okay, never
let's
mind.
go. Um, exactly.
Ooh.
Hellcat powered everything.
Oh God.
So I've got one for you.
Mm.
Um, what about your 80s and onward flagship four-cylinder engine?
Mm.
So in Volvo land, you had what started as the B18 engine, which then became the B20
Yep.
and the B23, and famously the red block,
Yep.
like B23s,
Good
which
motor.
are known for being absolutely indestructible, like
Yeah. Great motor.
truly not making a ton of power, but making adequate power, adequate torque, no matter what you choose to do to it. Versus the Saab B series, which then I think later they changed it to the H series, but they're all B something. So technically the H series, but I think it's a B. We'll call it the B series just to keep things complicated. Which was also very reliable, kind of similar deal. Like they made a 2-liter, then they had a 2.3, turbocharged. Initially, it was a Triumph engine design.
That's right.
So it was a Triumph Slant 4 that I think Volvo had like a purchase agreement for whatever X number per year, say, 100,000 a year or whatever. And then that purchase agreement kind of ended after 2 years, 3 years, and so they redesigned it in house to make that one, which ended up in the Saab 900, the 900 Aero,
the SPG baby,
all the SPG stuff ended up in the turbocharged 2-liter and the 9.3 and the turbo and the Vigan, and on and on and on. And which was famously in the 900 was spun around backwards, had
so crazy
the transmission as the oil pan, the water pump on the top because otherwise it'd be buried against the firewall.
That weird angle of the engine. It was cool, man.
It's very quirky design and layout for a very quirky vehicle.
Also a very stout engine.
Forever.
Yeah, very stout.
Also very stout engine, but lasted forever. I think the production of the engine only ended when Saab ended.
Yeah.
And it started in what, late 70s?
Yeah, that's
maybe
right.
80, 81, somewhere right there. Call it 1980.
I'm sure the engine was
1980 to what? 2009, 2010.
It's freaking wild.
Saab kicked it.
Yeah.
But everyone likes to talk about that Volvo engine and the red block. So what are your thoughts? If you got to pick one of those iconic Swedish 4-cylinder sewing machines?
Boy, I kind of like Saab because they were early adopters of turbo technology, which meant huge amounts of lag back in the day. If you've ever driven, like, even the Vigans had a good amount of lag, but the SPG for sure. Boost doesn't come on till like post 4,000 RPM, and it hits like a freaking truck, dude. It's not like a smooth wave like modern turbos where they kind of feel like extra displacement. It was like a whole different animal. I don't know. They had a lot of personality. I love seeing the engine at that weird angle. And God, they ran them forever. I mean, talk about longevity. Volvo had some good ones. I'm not saying they're garbage because they're absolutely fantastic. But I think in this fight, I think Saab is the master of 4 cylinders. I think they popularized 4-cylinder turbos, saying we don't need to go to 6 cylinders. We don't need to go to V8. We're going to keep it 4-cylinder turbo. And props to that. And they really made it the power they were putting out back then, dude. Like those Saab turbos were no joke. The SPG was like kind of frightening when it came out. So, and front wheel drive, which is the extra scary part of that formula. So yeah, I'm gonna give Saab the win on this. I like Volvo for their 5-cylinder work myself, but
okay, yeah, I think if you were to do like a web poll to the masses, I would be willing to bet dollars to strap-ons that Volvo would probably win. I think most people would pick that Volvo. Everyone knows the B23, and like the one in the one that was in that P1800 that went 3 million miles or whatever.
Oh, great!
And I've had some experience. My car donation guys, it was an 85, I think, 84, 85, 245, so a wagon, 4-speed manual with the little overdrive button. And it had 360,000 miles on it, and it was not greatly maintained. There were rust holes in it. And it fired right up. Put a battery in it, fired right up. Idled dead smooth. Motor mounts are completely gone. Transmission mounts are gone. But it just, even still, it would just sit there and idle dead smooth.
Damn good engine.
I sold it to a guy I know who, a buddy of mine, who ended up taking it as it was, didn't even change the tires. He just like topped off the
Oof.
fluids and drove it, towed it up to Thunder Hill, and just they did like well, first he did a mud rally with it. So he did like a straight up rally cross stage in it.
Yep.
And then he hosed the mud out of the tires, and like the next weekend he took it for a track day. And he blew one of the tires like halfway through the day because it was 110 degrees and he was
Yeah.
stomping on it, and the tires were 15 years old. But the car didn't even flinch. Like, it didn't flinch. He just absolutely flogged it,
Solid
and it
motor.
didn't care. It just didn't care. And so I think that's what most people think, but I think I'm with you. I think I'm going Saab on this one.
So good at the 4-cylinder turbos.
They are, and just how interesting that they took some, like, let's face it, Triumph is not exactly known as the great builder of engines.
Are you sure about that? You might want to check your source on that.
Yeah, and even that, I think even that 4-cylinder, because it's that slanted 4-cylinder. I think it's half of the V8 from the Stag. I
I
think
think
that's what they did, is they had
that's
that
where it started.
nightmare. Either that or it's the other way around. They took the 4-cylinder and smashed two together to make the Stag V8. Some unholy surgery went down.
It works horrible both ways.
It was. But then Saab figured out, like, okay, let's like retool this thing, and then built it for what, 40 more years.
If it ain't
Um,
broke.
yeah, exactly. Just a really cool feat of engineering, and I'm glad they did it. So I'm going with Saab on this one.
Hell yeah. I'm agreeing with that for sure. One
Yeah,
more before
yeah,
we get quizzical, my friend.
let's do it.
Who's the weirdest weirdo out of this group? Because everyone here is weird. Volvo and Saab are
Man,
weird. Saab, and I'll just preface it with some generalities. Saab with its hatchback designs, front wheel drive, key ignition locations, and night panel mode versus
night
Volvo
panel.
with its 5-cylinder engines, waterfall center stacks, and their giant chunky keys.
You know what? In my opinion, it's not close, and it's Saab.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the aforementioned 900 engine layout that we'd already discussed, with the engine in being backwards and the clutch being up against the upper tie bar is just, but that in and of itself is bananas.
Yeah.
But then you look at something like the predecessor to that, the Proto 900, which was the 99, and you look at like a 99 turbo with those awesome like Aztec temple wheels,
Oh, so cool.
and just the color combos and just the styling on that car, which was the quintessential Saab forever.
Yeah, that hatchback design is so iconic and it looks different than like any hatchback you've ever seen.
Yeah, and just the
Which is
front end,
brilliant.
that kind of clamshell front end,
Yep. That too.
and just the interior, the way the switch gear is. It's like, at first it's weird, and then you get used to it, and you're like, oh, all cars should be laid out this way.
Sure.
They've got like the doors kind of cut into the sill a little bit, so it's easier to get in and out of. Just bizarre stuff, and then you even get to that's not mentioning the Sonnet that I mentioned, which was bizarro, or the
Right.
earlier stuff than that, which we kind of never saw. The end. What sucks about Saab and picking a weirdo is picking them as the weirdo is the end run GM stuff, which was very milquetoast, just badge engineering issues.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But like the later '90s stuff with the 9.3 and the Vigan and like 3-spoke wheels, and that like purplish electric blue, and big power to the front wheels and making manuals, and people were starting to shy away from that.
Yep.
I think I'm taking Saab.
With you on that. I mean, of note, Volvo's Spaceball shifters, their crazy wagons with a lot of speed that we never really saw in traditional wagons, and the 5-cylinder engine. I mean, who else is pumping out fives other than Acura
High
Vigors?
fives.
No Acura Vigors in this conversation, but both companies very weird. I'm with you. So overall, Frank, before we move on to the quiz,
Oh yes.
who wins this grudge match? Is it Saab? Is it Volvo? Or is this a
think
draw? I feel like we were right down the middle on this one.
I think if we were doing the tally marks, I think we give it to Volvo.
Mm,
Overall,
it's tough.
I think I give it to Volvo as well. It's more difficult because like the just unsavory things I would consider doing for a super clean like 9999 turbo with a
Oh
manual.
yeah.
Like those are just so cool and you never see them. And just the quirkiness of Saab and all that. But Volvo still exists.
Right.
Volvo, when we're talking about the more newer stuff, actually makes some compelling products.
Yeah.
They've got the weird 4-cylinder turbo supercharged hybrid nightmare of a powertrain, but I think the styling of the new stuff looks good.
They've got Polestar, which is pretty
Yeah,
awesome. I
yeah. So
mean,
I think I have to go. I think I have to go Volvo here. And while I'd like to debate it more, I think it's, in my opinion, I think it's fairly clear. But
uh, I agree.
yeah, yeah,
Should we get quizzical? I can.
we should do that. Yeah, we should do that. That's how we're going to celebrate this thing. I
I
will
was.
I will queue up here if you want to tell
I
the
was.
people what we're up to.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a. I'm thinking about making a little musical intro, so I'll get back to you on that this week for a
Oh
quiz game
boy.
show. I'd like to have a little something, but welcome back, friends, family, well wishers, naysayers, to our automotive print ad quiz game show. It's a weekly occurrence here on the podcast where we read a publication advertisement. This was featured in a magazine, usually a gentleman's magazine. Hey now.
Yeah.
And we will read the ad, omitting anything that obviously gives the vehicle away. This time it's going to be me guessing. Frank's going to read an ad. I have 3 guesses after he reads the ad to tell him what vehicle he's trying to tell me. And if you guys know anything about these ads, they are sometimes poorly written, hilariously written, and it's a fun game altogether. So 3 guesses. I get to ask for hints every time I fail miserably. 10 minutes on the clock. Frank, what you got for me today,
Yes.
buddy? Let me show up.
Oh boy. Well, the one I've got for you today is it's a 2-pager.
Hey now.
I'm zooming in so I can see a little tighter.
Enhance.
It enhance. Okay, so it's a 2-pager.
Okay.
There's not a ton of technical details here,
Perfect.
but we're gonna exactly just how you like it.
Big as shit. All right, let's roll.
Exactly. But so I might supplement in some details here for you.
Oh, good.
If we get that, I feel I want to help you out here a little bit.
Oh.
Actually, the biggest hint is probably what it says at the top.
Mm.
And I think I'm just gonna read. I'm gonna read the tagline because it's not technically anything that's gonna give anything too well. It won't. I don't know.
Outdated taglines. Yeah, they're
It says the ultimate tanning machine.
ultimate tanning.
Tanning machine. Yes.
Ultimate or alternate?
Ultimate.
Weird.
The ultimate tanning machine.
Okay. Got to be a convertible.
There are cars without roofs, and then there's the blank convertible. Created for the exhilaration of sun worshippers and the high performance devotees throughout the world. The blank convertible is, first and foremost, a blank. Second and foremost, it is a true structurally integrated convertible built from the ground up. Quote, unlike some non-factory sawed-off roof jobs on other makers' cars, end quote, Motor Trend magazine. Thus, it offers classic blank road holding and handling, whether chasing the sun up a twisted mountain pass or cruising in the glow of a summer-lit highway. To experience some hair-raising performance, literally, and enjoy a demonstration of the most perfected go-away roof yet, another quote from Road and Track, visit your local authorized blank dealership. He'll show you how to go from 0 to 60 in 8.6 seconds. Note, from pale to tan will take slightly longer. That's all you get, my friend.
Okay, so did I not hear a rear wheel drive or front wheel drive
No.
designate? Okay, so we've convertible. What was it? 0 to 60, 8 point something?
8.6, 0 to 60. Which they're touting, which maybe that gives you a hint at the era. I don't know.
Yeah, It's not a horrible 0 to 60 time.
Sure.
It did mention mountain roads. I
Hmm.
picked up on that, so maybe there's some handling prowess to this thing.
Well,
It
yeah,
doesn't sound like a luxury like cruiser.
yeah. I mean, it said created for the exhilaration of sun worshippers and high performance devotees throughout the world. Da, 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 da. Yeah, hair raising performance,
Said
literally.
something about the mountain roads or something, didn't it? That's mountain something.
Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, whether you're chasing the sun up twisted
That
mountain
was it.
passes or
Yep.
cruising in the glow of the summer lit highway.
This sounds like it almost sounds like a Porsche ad, but those numbers don't make sense. It's very Euro seeming. I don't know. This is vague, dude.
It is
like I
vague.
I have zero like tech specs really.
Really,
Convertible 8.6 goes around corners.
um, yes, it goes around corners.
Mm,
It's been structurally dealt with, apparently.
okay, good.
So it's not super cal shaky and floppy.
Gotcha.
Allegedly.
Well, I got like a feeling that it's kind of a well-built vehicle. That's why I'm thinking you're based on the ad and how they're talking about it. It can't be an American like an ASC car where they just chopped the
Right.
roof off and did nothing else.
I don't know. What do you think the ultimate tanning machine might be? I don't know.
There's like nothing to work with. I don't know, dude. Did you have any hints you wanted to bake in before I take a guess, or because I
Um,
literally have no idea.
believe it or not, the thing at the top calling it the ultimate tanning machine is a massive hint
Okay.
because it's a play on their regular tagline.
I guess that would make so. It's a BMW.
I don't know.
Okay, well,
You got to place a guess, my friend.
the ultimate driving. What BMW? So it's 8.6. So it's not like this is way before the M cars with convert convertible options. So I don't know. Got to be a 3 Series. I don't know if it's going to be a E30 or E28 though, or not E28,
Well, yeah,
E20.
was it
Sorry,
E28 to
E20.
53?
Yeah, sorry. Uh,
I don't think they ever. I don't think we technically got an E21 convertible. I think there was some like ASC conversions, or like it was like a
okay,
Bauer where you had like a Targa with the bar and then the flip down back piece.
that's probably true. I know in Europe they did.
Yeah, yeah. I think we only got some like weird gray market Bauer imports.
8.6. It'd have to be. Yeah, let's go BMW 3 Series. We'll go final answer. The ultimate. What'd you say? Tanning.
Can you the ultimate tanning machine?
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Can you be a little bit more specific with the model, please?
I'm not sure that they.
Like 318, 325,
I
whatever.
don't think a 318 would run an 8 something. That's like I think it's going to be slower than that. Can I go? Let's E30 325 convertible. Final answer.
The ultimate tanning machine. There are cars without roofs, and there's the BMW 325i convertible.
There
That's
was
exactly what it is.
there was no meat on that bone, sir. Like
There wasn't. The only hint,
the
really,
tagline.
realistically, is the tagline.
I was right though. Like before you pointed out the tagline, which I had completely actually forgotten at that point. I just felt like it was totally a European ad, right? Like it totally
Yes.
reads
Yes.
nothing American about that. So
And then
that's dope.
at the bottom where I stopped reading, it then has the BMW logo and it says the ultimate driving machine.
Okay, dude,
So
that's
it's white and it's got the top down. It's like a not quite a broadside shot. It's tilted a little bit.
okay.
Um,
That's awesome. I mean, that hint helped a lot. I mean, I don't know if I would have just picked that apart. There were zero tech specs.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah,
So
I knew it was short on tech specs, but like, yeah, the tagline is really what you've got to work with. It's like if you connect that, really at that point, you're like, okay, it's E36, E30. It's kind of it, right? Like
I mean,
maybe an early Z3. It could have been a Z3.
I was thinking like the Mercedes convertibles too kind of fit in that category for that speed and that kind of an advertisement, but that would
Yeah,
have
like
been a shot across the bow to write ultimate tanning machine on a on a
actually,
Mercedes.
that would have been really clutch. Actually, that would have been
Fucking
a really cool
props.
ad if they said ultimate tanning machine.
That's cool, man. I like that ad. I like that play on their tagline too. So
Yes.
without that, dude, I wouldn't have got it.
No, yeah, it would have just unfair,
Yeah.
completely unfair.
It's a good ad. What a cool car too, man. Because I love those E30s. It's good motor in that one too. And
Yeah.
they've kind of grown on me. The convertibles look pretty sharp. Like it's one of those sedans turned into a convertible that doesn't look horrible. Unlike remember the A4 Audis convertibles? It just
You know what? I've got a soft spot for an RS4 cab. I think an
okay, that's different.
RS4 cab
I'm
would be
talking the
so
Audi
cool.
A4 with that 2.8 in it. It looks like a bathtub to me. Like sedans, when you go topless, for some reason they look like bathtubs.
Could be. Well, this one's white, so it
Could be
kind of
bathtub.
does look like a porcelain tub, the one in this
Oh
ad.
shit.
Um, very good. What the hell? What have you been working on? Anything Swedish?
Oh,
Can we do some PCP?
yeah, let's do some project car progress. So yeah, keeping it thematic. The Volvo C30 R design. That's a horrible Swedish accent.
Yeah, no, that was. Don't ever do that again.
Yeah, it was high on meatballs from IKEA. Oil change, air filter. I got to look at some notes here and some new tires. So I put Falcon Azeni's all seasons, and you know me, I'm the aggressive tire guy, and I had to back off because it's going to be my daily. So I put
Right.
a pretty well like I guess spec'd out all season that kind of acts like a summer tire. So those Falcons are pretty good.
Sure.
Way less aggressive than what I usually run like 200 series, like
Mm-hmm.
track day kind of tires, but super happy with how they made the car feel. It had 8-year-old what did it have? Continentals on it.
Okay.
8 years anything is not good. So it feels a lot better. All the oil change, everything straightforward, simple car to work on, man. That 5-cylinder. So just taking it easy with that, and I'm gonna keep the theme going with tires. I bought tires for the Trooper too, my '88 Isuzu Trooper. I got some Toyo Open Countries, which are some pretty aggressive off-road
People seem to
sweet
like those.
tires. What's that?
I said people seem to like those. For a long time it was very in vogue to just be like, KO2s or die.
They're good. That's a good tire.
But
For
I hear
sure.
a lot of people now, they're like, no, those tires are too chunky and too heavy. The open countries are great, and so a lot of people are way into those tires.
Yeah, and it works with the theme. You keep it Japanese with the old Japanese truck. I did replace 20-year-old Falcons. So the grip difference is a little better. There isn't as much dry rot in the seams of the treads, which is
man.
concerning with truck tires. You know
Yes.
how long it takes for a truck tire to get dry rot in the grooves.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was mostly tire stuff and then basic maintenance on the Volvo. So how about you, man? Have you had any time to turn any wrenches, update any projects? I don't think
Not a
924 Turbo
not
is
a
going to be
whole
on
lot
this
of
list.
time. No, no. Although I've maybe there's an episode to be had in contemplating a fire sale.
Okay, cool.
So we can discuss that another time. But what I've actually accomplished is not much. So dealt with kid losing an appendix, and then I managed to get myself pneumonia, and so yeah, it's been an interesting bit of time. But one thing I did do, back to the little 924. So I was able to get that thing finally, like, actually detailed.
Nice.
So I took it to my detailer guy, and it looks so good. It looks
Dude,
so good.
who was that voice when we looked at that car the first time that was like, dude, you got to buy
Yeah,
this car?
I know, and
It was so
yeah,
cool looking.
and it really cleaned up extraordinarily well.
Wow.
So the next thing I need to do on it is, the exhaust has split again.
Ooh.
So I need to get that re-welded up and then figure out why it keeps cracking just ahead of the cat. I assume it's the motor mounts.
Yeah.
Rock Auto doesn't carry motor mounts for a 82 924. How dare they? So I'll have to do
Wow.
a little bit of digging. Really, the only research I've done on that car is I finally made the decision where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep the stock wheels, and I'm
Yeah.
just going to order new tires. It's an awkward size, but Vredestein makes a couple of really good compounds in that. They made their Sprint series of tires, which is like an old school tread pattern look, but with like
It's pretty
modern
cool.
materials. Different than what I have on the Galant. On the Galant, I have the Sprint Pluses, which are a more like 80s, 90s look, which is
Gotcha.
perfect for that car.
Makes sense.
I was like, you know what? I'll just put these in. They're a 160 tread wear, so like that tells you how.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like super sticky rubber.
Good lord, dude.
On like an old timey looking tread pattern. It's kind of interesting. And so I go, okay, fine. Let me just order. And they have two sizes that are practically the same. One's a 160 and one's a 200.
Okay.
So okay, let me just. Fine. I'll bite the bullet. I'll just order them because the tires on here are from 2005. They're straight up criminally bad.
Yeah.
Nope. Global planetary back order from all of them. So I'm back to the drawing board because the smart thing to do would be like, okay, let me get a wheel because the factories are 14.
Yeah.
So let me get a wheel that is,
well, sir,
a proper modern size.
I have at least 3 vehicles.
16.
I have at least 3 vehicles with 14-inch wheels, so I feel your pain.
Yes. Because I want decent rubber on the thing, even if the rest of the suspension is stock. I like
Falcon
modern rubbers.
Yeah, Falcon Azeni 615Ks or TKs, 200 tread wear.
Yeah.
I run it on my Miata, my Neon.
Do they make it in a 70 series though? Is the problem?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's
what is it? A truck?
I believe it's a 185 7014.
Is it really a 70? That is literally a truck.
Yeah.
God damn.
So they're skinny and they've got a lot of sidewall. And
very nice.
Yeah. So what I should probably do is find a 15 or a 16-inch wheel that's period correct. 16 would be ideal, but I don't want anything too modern looking. I kind of want to do like gold Anki meshes or some kind of gold mesh wheel at the same time, because I think with that kind of glacier green color, it would be really cool.
Yeah, BBS has some mesh from that period for sure too.
Yeah. I just then the new problem is it's a one. Well, there's that, but it's a one.
I was doing the money sign, guys.
It's a 4. It's money, but it's also a 4x120 bolt pattern, which is an awkward, unusual bolt pattern.
Yeah.
It's like base model Fox bodies, Ford Euro stuff, and this car and some other and a few other stuff. But if it was like 4x114.3 or 4x100, it'd be way easier.
Yeah, Honda,
Miata sets of wheels for the car right now.
Yeah.
So that's become more of a thing than I wanted it to be. But welcome to forgotten Porsche ownership. So
did they change? I'm sure they did. Did they 944 got a different bolt pattern?
Yep. So it got the same bolt pattern that they used on my turbo car right behind me, which is let me get out of the way. There's a 5-lug.
Yo, look at that.
Yeah, so they went to a 5-lug, which is cool because I think those wheels that I have on my turbo car would work really well on the non-turbo car. It's the D90 wheel, which is like the what they used on the S2s and on the 968 cars. It's a 16-inch wheel.
Rotary dial ones would look pretty sweet on that 924 too.
Yeah, but then I think I didn't want to do that because then I think everyone would just like assume it's a 924S because that's what came on the S. Which I don't want it. I want it to look like the slovenly
True. Fair enough.
Older version. So that's in debate. So if you've got any hacks or tricks or wheels you want to sell me for not overly inflated rate, holla at your boy. Otherwise,
get on the marketplace, man. Someone will be floating some weird wheels.
I'll have to holler at somebody to figure it out. And if someone wants to holler at you, Chadwick,
personally,
how would somebody personally and or professionally?
Yeah, you guys can
or sensually. How would one do that? How would they track you down?
Emphasis on sensual, please. I have emotions too. I'm not just a piece of meat.
It's yet to be seen.
You guys can find me, Auto Obsessive Garage, on YouTube, rescues, restorations, and reviews, and on Instagram. Frank, where can the good folks follow you?
Oh boy. Here on this podcast, for one, another pointless automotive podcast. What you're listening to right now. We are also on Instagram and on the YouTubes. If you're not looking at how messy and terrible looking we are in general, you have an option. That's at APA Podcast on the gram, another Pointless Automotive Podcast on YouTube, and me, little old me, I am. What am I? I'm the Photographer's Garage on Instagram and on YouTube.
The teleprompter died for a
and
minute. I'm
on-
sorry.
Exactly.
He lost it. Okay, he's dead right now.
Oh, I'm still dying.
He's back.
But yeah, so do that. Follow me there, or just more importantly, tag along here. Keep coming back for more. We really genuinely appreciate your listenership. And it'd be great if you told some friends on how good ways to lose time and brain cells, which is listening to our pod.
Yeah, and definitely rate and review the show. We appreciate any feedback we can get. It really helps us gauge the interest we're receiving and spread the word for sure. And again, guys, thanks. Your time is your greatest resource. Thanks for spending time with us. We greatly enjoy doing this, and we hope you guys do too. So
yes, sir. All right. Well, thanks,
take
guys.
care. Peace.
Bye.